More and more people are coming forward and exposing the truth about Ellen DeGeneres and her connection with both evil Hollywood and Epstein. We recently featured Rosie O'Donnell talking about this exposure, but today we're diving in to what Roseanne Barr has to say specifically about Ellen DeGeneres. This is gonna be a good one because we know that Roseanne Barr always gives us the juicy details, and in this case, the ugly ones. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Now let's dive into the video.
Well, she is the evil side. And, there's an evil side and a good side, and that's the war.
Well, that was about a couple years ago when I was doing this reality show that I got myself talked into doing.
Right.
One thing I learned from doing that show, fake reality sucks too.
And you know, they just tried to, and I felt like they killed my character and my character, but I thought they were sending a message.
Roseanne has finally broken her long silence on the connection between Ellen DeGeneres and Jeffrey Epstein, and the details are bad. She exposes exactly how this dark network operates.
Hollywood ain't shit but POs and people under PO control with their handlers.
If you've ever wondered why certain people in Hollywood get away with everything while others are destroyed, you need to watch this.
After they kicked me off TV and said I was a threat to America and everything.
They called you a threat to America?
Well, something like that. A threat to Hollywood.
A threat to everything's a threat to Hollywood right now. Hollywood
Ain't it?
seems to be crumbling at the foundations.
Isn't it great?
In 1988, Roseanne changed the rules completely. In doing so, she placed a massive target on her own back. Her show presented a working-class family that did not fit the perfect American dream that television had always been selling.
Now, we actually put out a documentary here on the channel breaking down Roseanne Barr and her entire life from when she started until today. You should check that out if you haven't seen it yet. It's a great video. But she seems to be enjoying the crumbling of Hollywood because she knows all the terrible things that are going on within Hollywood, and she wants to see it all go down. Rightfully so.
She fought aggressively with her head writer, Matt Williams, and demanded full credit as the true creator of her own life story. Because she did not play by the rules, she became a threat to the established. This made her extremely dangerous to the people who ran the dark networks behind the scenes. They could not silence her without fans noticing exactly what they were doing, and this thing changed everything about how she would be treated for the rest of her career.
There's nothing any of them could ever do to make up for what they put me through. There's nothing they could do to apologize.
Ellen DeGeneres followed a completely different path, and that path led her directly into the heart of the Elite Protection Club. In 1997, her sitcom Alter Ego came out in a highly publicized, historic two-part television event.
Susan, I'm...
This moment mattered to a lot of people who saw themselves represented on screen for the first time.
This, I believe, was the moment that she came out as being homosexual on that show.
What happened next is the key to understanding everything about Ellen's career. She faced a short period of trouble after that and temporarily lost her place in the upper tiers of show business. But unlike Roseanne, Ellen was quickly brought back into the limelight. Hollywood giants reached out to her and pulled her right back in, only because she learned how to play the game perfectly. She obeyed the rules of the elite and did whatever was necessary to stay in their good graces. And in return, she was given a highly funded daytime talk show that would run for nearly 2 decades.
Last time I was on the show, last year, you gave me a bunch of about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited.
To her birthday party she's speaking about.
Well, who doesn't want to be invited to a party?
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Ellen became the smiling face of the Hollywood elite. She danced with guests, gave prizes, and interviewed major celebrities. On the surface, that sounds wonderful. Who could be against kindness? But here is what that slogan really was. It was a calculated cover story designed to protect her true role in the elite network. While Roseanne fought the system and tried to expose reality, Ellen served the system and helped her friends to hide the reality of many A-list celebs.
I like how this is actually being broken down, and we've never seen Roseanne Barr be on her show before. We've never seen footage of that, so this is a first time. Now, we have seen Diddy, we have seen a lot of the other guests here on the channel prior, but great points are being made here that Ellen DeGeneres went along with the machine, the evil Hollywood machine, while Roseanne Barr, she fought the machine.
So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up to
No, well, Is it on the East Coast?
That is the difference between them. One saw the truth and refused to be silent about it. The other saw the truth and chose to be a part of the machine that kept it hidden. This is the absolute key to understanding how Epstein and his friends managed its public assets. Some people were threats to them, and some people were tools to be protected. Ellen was a tool, Roseanne was a threat, and that is why their fates were so completely different.
Epstein he's like one of the pillars of the whole system.
And right there, that's the connection. A lot of people, we look at the Epstein files and believe that this is its own separate thing. It's separate from Diddy. It's separate from evil Hollywood. But Roseanne Barr just said it right there. It's one of the pillars of the entire machine. Epstein files, Diddy, evil Hollywood, these are all connected, intertwined into the same system.
To understand the connection between Ellen and the Epstein network, you have to know about Epstein. The mainstream media has tried to paint him as a bad apple acting alone, but the reality is much worse. Epstein was a 66-year-old hedge fund manager who owned massive homes in Florida and New York and a private island. He was officially accused of paying girls hundreds of dollars in cash for massages and then mistreating them from 2002 through 2005.
It goes so far beyond that as well. This is what we've been covering here on the channel for the past 3 months. He was not just paying girls for massages. He was not just abusing them. He was making them his. He was owning these girls and making them feel as if they needed him and they were never able to be let go.
But here's what the media never talks about. He was running a system that gave certain people leverage over other people.
I acquired his little black book, and then I started calling victims in the black book. And they started telling me about being flown around and flown to an island. And at that point, I realized he was no longer a lone pedophile, but he ran a network.
Roseanne has used her independent platform to expose the absolute truth about Epstein's role in the world. On her podcast, she sat down with Nick Bryant. Now Nick has been working tirelessly to expose the Epstein files for years, long before the mainstream media dared to even whisper his name. And together, Roseanne and Bryant laid out the exact structure of the dark operation. Epstein was running a massive ring that we all know about. He was protected by an elite network of wealthy and powerful people who kept him completely untouchable by standard law enforcement.
And is still protecting him even though he's allegedly no longer living. This is not something from the past. This is ongoing hardcore right now.
This was not just some guy who got lucky and avoided his wrongdoings for a while. His job was to gather the most powerful people in the world, trap them in wrongful acts, and record the evidence. That evidence was then used to control these powerful people for the rest of their lives.
The structure of Hollywood is if there is sort of pressure to do sort of things or they have blackmail, there is a payoff. It's not like you're blackmailed and you're living in a hut. Like, you'll rise to the top, you'll have money.
Well, if you don't, you'll be finished.
Think about what that means for a second. You are a daytime TV host like Ellen. You fly to this private island and you participate in things you should absolutely never participate in. And the whole time, you know there are cameras, you know there are witnesses, and you know that evidence is being collected. Now you are trapped and that evidence is used to save other Hollywood elites as they appear on your talk shows to hide their wrongdoings. This is a massive public cover-up that requires a huge distraction. It requires people on television to keep the public calm, entertained, and completely unaware of the dark stuff happening behind closed doors.
You have to think, all of the hundreds of guests that have been on Ellen's show, all of the people that are within that Hollywood network, you have to look at these interviews and say, did they know what was going on? And even bigger of a question, did they participate in what was going on in the dirty Hollywood Epstein Island, or were they victims of what was going on? Because in my opinion, everyone in Hollywood knows what's going on. Some people in Hollywood participate in what's going on. Some are victims, and others decide to just not engage with it at all and try and distance themselves as much as possible. It's very rare to come across someone like Roseanne who's actually willing to expose them.
There also were members of the crew who spoke about producers allegedly other crew members and creating uncomfortable environments.
Ellen became essential to the daily operation of running this terrible system. The elites needed friendly faces on television who told people to be kind, laugh, and not ask too many questions about what is happening in the powerful circles of the world. Ellen was perfect for that role. She was exactly what the system needed to keep the public asleep while the wrong things continued. The darkness of this network goes much deeper than just money or simple blackmail.
So what's being said right here is that Ellen DeGeneres was the happy happy, kind face of evil Hollywood, and she was being used as a pawn to lead everyone to believe that everything was okay, everything was happy, and everything was jolly inside of Hollywood.
It touches on this thing called control that most people are not even aware of. Roseanne also brought this to light by interviewing a survivor named Audra Lynn.
And I was told that there was this great guy that was in Hollywood. He had all these connections to different producers, and that he wanted to meet me and thought that I had great potential because I had just posed for Playboy. I was Miss October 2003. And so I went to a hotel to meet him.
Audra Lynn is a whistleblower who bravely told the world that Jeffrey Epstein mistreated her.
Allegedly, I have to say, by the infamous Jeffrey Epstein himself, correct?
Correct.
But her testimony revealed the terrifying nature of the power structure that created Epstein in the first place. This elite network is directly tied to what is called the bloodline of Cain. If you have never heard of this before, I want you to stay with me because this is important. The bloodline of Cain refers to a group of people who have ruled empires, built some crazy cults, and created global control for generations. This is not some new thing that started with Epstein or any other single person. This is a system that has been operating for a very long time.
This is Satan's army. Like literally, this is Satan's army.
Their network operates through many things. They use underground temples and hold seats in the highest halls of global power. It is not a simple game played by rival gangs trying to gain more votes or more money. This is a war playing out in real time on the world stage. The elite network behind Epstein wants complete control. They want to take the souls of children, and they demand that the public remain in a state of total silence about what is really happening.
And the more that Jeffrey abused me and Ghislaine either collaborated or initiated those.
Jeffrey Epstein was simply a modern tool for this. His job was to manage the ring that gave access of young individuals to the elites. He was not the architect of this system. He was just one piece of it, one operator in a much larger machine that has been running for generations. When you understand this whole setup, you finally understand why the mainstream media lies so consistently about everything, and more importantly, why certain celebrities are protected no matter what terrible things they do behind the scenes. This is also the reason why someone like Roseanne, who dared to speak the truth about all of this, had to be completely destroyed. They could not let her keep her platform. They could not let her continue telling people what she knew, because once you start connecting those dots, the whole illusion starts to fall apart, and they cannot allow that to happen.
Now, the great thing about modern day are platforms like this one. So you take Joe Rogan, Roseanne Barr, two good examples right here. From mainstream Hollywood, they can then create their own platform on podcasts, on YouTube, on X, on Instagram, or any of these platforms, and they could expose what they want to expose because they have the freedom to do so. And being that they're already celebrities with a big following, lots of people are going to tune in. If you decide to go start a YouTube channel today and you don't have a name for yourself because you were never in Hollywood and no one knows who you are, it's a lot more difficult. But if Roseanne Barr starts up a podcast and starts telling people about it, it's going to blow up, especially when she's talking about controversial topics like this. So she's not stuck. She can actually still get the word out about what she's trying to say. And on top of that, she can monetize it and allow herself to make a living from that as well, even if she's not being brought under the wing of Hollywood and no longer getting those roles.
As soon as they heard that, a lot of cabals here in Hollywood, that's all they needed to hear. It's like, okay, destroy. She must be destroyed.
The dark truth regarding the elites could not stay hidden forever as Roseanne began to put down the puzzle together on her own. She knew this elite group ruled the world and Ellen was part of it. She also knew her Hollywood friends were a major part of the cover-up. Roseanne did what the elite feared most. She called out the members of Ellen's network publicly over and over again. The list includes international business tycoons like Bill Gates and top-tier Hollywood folks like Oprah Winfrey, Lady Gaga, Tom Hanks, and Ellen herself.
I called her up and I said, just like this, you better shut your blanking mouth about me. I'm telling you,
you better shut your effing mouth.
The mainstream media went absolutely crazy trying to discredit her. But here is the thing. The naming of Ellen was precise, calculated, and quite accurate to the reality of this secret network. She was not just a talk show host reading jokes from a prompter every afternoon. She was an active participant in the elite cover-up. She provided the friendly face that the bloodline of Cain desperately needed to keep the public asleep, while Epstein's illegal operation continued. She made people feel like everything in Hollywood was just fun and games and being kind to each other. And that is exactly what the elite needed.
And what's crazy is she was the mouthpiece of good for Hollywood, trying to put this facade up. But there were always hints being dropped as well, like her set itself being themed to the temple that was built on Epstein's island. So it's like these little breadcrumbs, these little hints were being dropped. And these are the things that we continuously are finding today, knowing what actually went on. These are the things that we're trying to expose on a channel like this one.
Yeah, don't you think Brittany Murphy's a liar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fat one.
Ellen attacked a lot of whistleblowers with everything she had, calling Roseanne and her statements as a baseless conspiracy theory designed to spread misinformation. But the people who were paying attention could see exactly what was happening.
Do you think Roseanne Barr is throwing out baseless conspiracy theories? Or do you believe the things that she's saying? I think I already know the answer to that, but you could let me know down below.
I could see why some of her friends were protected and why certain celebs trying to expose her were disrespected. And that is why someone like Roseanne speaking out is so significant. She is not some random person making things up. She is someone who has seen the system from the inside and understands how it works. In 2004 and 2006, Roseanne was a guest on Ellen's show. And if you go back and watch those episodes, you will see exactly what Ellen was trying to do.
Really? You think 57 is old?
I think it's really old. I know what you're trying to get to. You know, people in Hollywood, they're always telling you, 50's the new 30. 50's not old, because they like have a horrible fear of aging and all that stuff, but nobody lives to 108.
By bringing a known loose cannon like Roseanne onto the friendly couch, Ellen was trying to make her part of the Hollywood family. Oh, look, Roseanne was on Ellen. That means she is okay. She is part of the club. She is not really a threat to anyone. That was the message she was trying to send, but the thing is, behind the scenes of all this gimmick, Ellen was part of the very group that enabled the folks like Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Prince Andrew. The elite network needed people like Ellen to maintain their public standing at all costs. If people believed that Hollywood was full of kind people, they would never look into the dark world of their lifestyle. They would never ask questions about private islands, flight logs, or who was connected to whom. They would just keep watching, trusting and believing that everything was fine.
It's crazy watching and seeing how many people that we know are involved in the Epstein files have been guests on her show.
That is exactly what Ellen was there to ensure. She was the perfect distraction, and the system used her for nearly 2 decades to keep the public exactly where they wanted them. However, this whole thing came crashing down in 2020 when stories began to leak to the press about a toxic workplace at the Ellen show.
The other allegation has to do with Ellen herself and allegations that she's not the happy-go-lucky, nice person that her show would lead people to believe in.
Many staff complained of poor behavior, poor communication, and a lack of support. Suddenly, the woman who told everyone to be kind was exposed to the world simply as being a mean boss. That was the story. That was the official explanation. She was just difficult to work for, she was demanding, and she was not as nice off camera as she was on camera. That is why she is leaving. This was a completely manufactured crisis. It had nothing to do with what she was really being removed for. And then, in 2022, under the weight of these allegations, the Ellen DeGeneres show finally came to a close. Then in 2024, Ellen even did a stand-up comedy routine where she admitted she was kicked out of show business for being mean.
Oh yeah, I got kicked out of show business.
Everyone thought it was a funny joke, but here is what nobody was supposed to realize. Ellen DeGeneres was not kicked out of show business for being mean. Countless people in Hollywood are notoriously mean, and they keep their jobs forever because they are protected by doing personal favors. Oprah kept her career alive because she had the right people behind her. Harvey Weinstein only fell because he finally alienated every single person who protected his specific tier. Mean people do not lose their shows in Hollywood. Only people who become liabilities to the larger operation get removed.
And when you think about it, Ellen DeGeneres was the mouthpiece of good. She was the be kind woman. So as soon as she was no longer looked at as the good guy by society, Evil Hollywood didn't have that need for her anymore because she was no longer the good face of Hollywood. She was now a tainted face of Hollywood, along with the actual truth behind Hollywood that everyone is not so nice all the time. So they needed to either find someone new or at least remove her since she was no longer the be kind symbol.
And even then, they get removed in a way that protects the real secrets. Ellen lost her show to hide her wrongdoings. By letting the public think she was just a difficult boss, the elite network prevented the public from discovering her ties to Epstein's friend circle. It was a fake scandal designed entirely to cover up the real scandal. The network sacrificed her daytime reputation to save her and themselves from the consequences of the truth. She got her massive payout to retire comfortably.
I'm a comedian who got a talk show, and I ended the show every day by saying, be kind to one another. Had I ended my show by saying, go yourselves.
While Ellen was given a soft landing, Roseanne was subjected to the uncompromising force of Hollywood. This is where you see the difference between a protected asset and an existential threat. In 2018, Roseanne's television show was brought back to ABC for a revival season, and it was an instant hit, drawing incredible ratings and proving that the fans absolutely loved her unfiltered truth and her portrayal of the real working class. This show was reaching millions of people every single week, and the elite network could not allow her to maintain this powerful platform. So the system simply waited for an opportunity to strike, and on May 29th, they found it. Roseanne posted a tweet regarding Valerie Jarrett. The tweet was instantly seized upon and labeled as incredibly wrongful by the mainstream media, a media completely controlled by the exact same folks that protects folks like Ellen and Epstein.
ABC called Roseanne Barr's tweet about former President Obama aide Valerie Jarrett abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values.
Roseanne tried to explain the context. She said she was under the influence of the sleep medication Ambien when she made the post. She publicly apologized and asked God to help her use this bad experience to move to a better place where she could help people.
I'll tell you, platforms like this can be very dangerous because they give all of us the ability to say whatever we want, whenever we want, whether under the influence or not. And if you're someone that's under a microscope like Roseanne was, you could get yourself in a lot of trouble.
But despite all that, ABC reversed its decision to renew her highly successful show and fired her immediately. The decision was pushed by ABC Entertainment president Channing Dungey. Her co-stars, including Sarah Gilbert, turned against her, trying to ruin her reputation and career.
Well, I think I'm better off too, but like I was going to say, Sarah Gilbert was on that show, The Talk, and it wasn't enough that she stabbed me in the back and did what she did to me there, but
to add the ultimate insult, her character was also taken off, and the remaining cast was given a spin-off show called The Conners. They took everything from her. Her show, her character, her legacy, her reputation. The speed of this cancellation proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was not really about a tweet. There are people who say far worse things on social media every single day and nothing happens to them. But Roseanne was not just anyone. She was a whistleblower. The elite network used that tweet as a convenient excuse to permanently silence her. They even tried to convince the public that she subconsciously wanted her own show to be canceled. But Roseanne was not crazy. On Candace Owens' podcast, she shared the ugly truth about Hollywood.
Somehow Hollywood gets a hold of it and it kind of turns into this weird factory.
Yeah, it's like child trafficking.
In a weird way.
Yeah, it's like these rich gay guys are hiring like hillbillies that make $20 a year with no teeth.
Roseanne understood exactly how the system worked because she had been inside it for decades, and that is exactly why they had to ruin her career. When you understand a system that, well, when you can see its inner workings clearly, you become a threat that cannot be controlled, and uncontrolled threats must be silenced.
But I mean, there's such a large number of them that are secret perverts.
Roseanne knew that the Me Too movement was partially a distraction. She understood that you cannot reform Hollywood by firing a few actors. You cannot fix a corrupt system by sacrificing a few of its lower-level operators. You have to expose the root of evil and go after the Epstein-style ring that controls executives, A-listers, and other people. The elite network never allowed the movement to touch the core of the Epstein operation. It was allowed to make the public feel like the system was working and the bad guys were being punished, but it never reached the heart of everything. Roseanne saw that and knew the Me Too movement was partially a distraction. She understood that you cannot reform Hollywood by firing a few actors.
You too.
Like,
they're gonna get you too.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And I noticed, because I was the one who said it first, like I went against the Me Too movement early, like right when it came out of the gates. So I got roundly condemned by both sides. And I was like, guys, if you don't.
When an elite asset makes a mistake, the system allows them to apologize and recover. Lena Dunham was forced to pen a massive apology in The Hollywood Reporter for lying to discredit a woman named Aurora Perrineau, reporting a essay by Girls writer Murray Miller. But when Roseanne apologized after her tweet, her apology was completely rejected by the system. The system does not accept apologies from existential threats. It only accepts apologies from people who are willing to submit to them. Roseanne was not willing to submit. She was ready to break the silence on Ellen, Epstein, and the entire dark structure. Therefore, her rejection had to be absolute and permanent. But despite the overwhelming power of the Hollywood media machine, Roseanne refuses to be silenced.
You know, everything is a mind trick to get us to kill ourselves and each other, isn't it?
By connecting Ellen to the Epstein network, Roseanne is revealing the darkest trick of the industry. The people who tell the public to be kind on television are the exact same people protecting the most evil ring in human history. The evidence presented by her is the foundation of how the elite maintain their power over modern society. The double standard is clear. The protected assets like Ellen are hidden safely away with their wealth.
Now, is that enough for you for exposing Ellen DeGeneres? Or do you want to go deeper? Roseanne Barr got us started, but Rosie O'Donnell dives even deeper inside of this video. Go check that one out, and I'll see you guys over there.